90.3 WHPC now presents Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now, learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property, and learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau, a past dean of the Nassau Academy of Law, and frequently lectures to lawyers on ethics and avoiding problems with clients, and to the public on how to choose and use lawyers. This is Law You Should Know on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Our special guest today is Anthe Maria Bova, and she is the General Counsel and Director of Pro Bono Programs at the New York County Lawyers Association. Anthe, welcome back to Law You Should Know.
Thank you.
I understand you have exciting news about the new headquarters of the New York County Lawyers Association in Lower Manhattan, so tell us about that.
Yes, thanks, Ken. So we're very excited to announce that we've officially moved into our new home of law at 111 Broadway. It's been a long time coming and a long project in the works after selling our landmark building at 14 Vesey. So really excited to start welcoming old and new members back to our headquarters for committee events and other events like CLEs as well, particularly starting in the fall and winter. So we're really excited about that.
And I know you also run the pro bono programs, and you're very passionate about them. And we're going to talk in a moment about how lawyers can get involved in those programs. But are lawyers from outside Manhattan, maybe lawyers occasionally in Manhattan on a case, are lawyers from all over the New York area and the suburbs welcome to join and attend the programs of the New York County Lawyers Association?
Yes, absolutely. So we actually have a global membership. So the New York County Lawyers Association has become a bit of a misnomer. When we were created back in 1908, certainly we were Manhattan-centric. It's been over 100 years. So we do work throughout the state in various ways, CLEs that's relevant to New York law in the state. And of course, we have members that are located outside of New York State and even the U.S.
And if you don't mind my saying so, since you are in Lower Manhattan, you're still at the center of the New York and world legal community.
That is true, and always the intent of where we're going to move next.
What are some programs that you're working on to help lawyers, help people resolve other problems, let's say pro bono work, that you train lawyers to do and help them to assist other people who may be in need of legal services?
Right. So as you mentioned, in addition to being general counsel, I direct all of our pro bono programs, and it's a core part of our mission at NYCLA to provide free legal services to low-income individuals. So we have a variety of programs that span limited scope to full scope counseling in civil legal services. So we don't do criminal law work, but we do civil law work. And even in light of the pandemic, we had really stayed strong in all of our work, and we just had to adjust a bit. So of course, not surprisingly, much of our work is remote, if it wasn't already. And so you certainly don't need to be doing almost all of the work in person. So I just wanted to kind of start out with that. There's a lot of flexibility if you wanted to get involved. And also as a general matter, I just wanted to highlight you don't even need to be a licensed attorney. We have college interns who volunteer with us. We have law students, law graduates, as well as, of course, attorneys at various points in their careers who come and join our various programming.
And paralegals could also help in the programs as well.
Absolutely. Basically, my perspective is if you want to help out in our pro bono programs, we can find something for you.
And you and the Bar Association will provide training and support for someone who's trying to help in a pro bono program.
That's correct. So we have formalized training for almost all of our programs. And to the extent we don't have formal training, normally you would be matched up either with another organization or a mentor that would have more experience in that area of the law.
What's some of the feedback you have received from attorneys or paralegals who've done that, who've taken the training and then worked on a pro bono case? How does it make them feel? How does it help them as a lawyer?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, the timing is great with that question because we were recently going through grant reporting and going through client surveys. And I had the pleasure of going back to some of our volunteers and saying, I just want to let you know, these clients had these amazing things to say about you, and having an exchange with the volunteers about their experiences. Overall, extremely positive. I think what was most surprising, and I would start with that for a lot of our volunteers, is that for those who were extremely experienced, they didn't expect to even learn as much as they did in the actual experience of representing someone. And then there were a lot of people who were surprised that they thought, I could never do this. I've never practiced this area of the law. I've never done direct client service, which is very common for a lot of volunteers coming our way who are used to representing large companies, for instance, and then have been working with clients directly. They were really surprised at what they were capable of doing. So there's been a lot of really positive feedback, and also a lot of folks enjoy working with partners, whether you have a mentor or another volunteer that you're part of a team on a project. So that collaborative effort is also really enjoyable for them.
And how does it help the lawyer or the paralegal professionally?
It can help in a variety of ways. Certainly, if you're already experienced in that area of the law, we have a lot of people who come and volunteer with us, say, who are experienced housing lawyers, who volunteer with our legal counseling project, which provides limited scope counseling sessions over the phone now in light of the pandemic. It used to be in person in the areas of housing, employment, and family law. So they use that as an opportunity not just to give back, but also to stay fresh in that area of the law, because they always, you may get the same types of questions, but you always get that new question that you may never have expected. But the other benefit, the flip side to that is, maybe I want to try something out. Maybe I want to see if I like this area of the law and I've never done it. So a project like that's limited scope can really give you a glimpse into what that area of the law can be like. So with something like that, if you're not experienced, you can shadow one of our more experienced attorneys and start that way in terms of volunteering. One, to get experience before you take something on your own, but also to get a sense if you actually like volunteering in that area.
And if you don't like that area, you have many other areas they can be of help.
We have several other areas. So we also have a consumer debt set of projects. One of those projects is called the Clara Project, where we provide limited scope counseling to individuals who have been sued by various creditors in New York County. Also limited scope counseling, so you don't have to do it in person. You can do everything remotely. The flip side of the same coin is we have a limited scope project called the Volunteer Lawyer for the Day program, where we're actually based in court helping individuals on a limited scope basis on those same types of cases. So they've been sued by various creditors like credit card companies, and we're helping them out with that case. And you can imagine there are a lot of instances of identity theft. There's a lot of instances of sewer service. So we're really doing a great service to these low-income individuals.
And these clients may have legal rights they're not aware of, and they need someone to help advocate for them and help them stand up for their rights.
Absolutely, particularly in a context like consumer debt, because you have individuals, one, who are already fearful of the court system. It's very foreign to them. It can be very intimidating. And then you have large banks, large credit card companies going after them, making them afraid and making it seem like they owe something that they may not. We've had a lot of folks who were almost bullied into paying a debt that wasn't even theirs.
And some of these debts could be old. Maybe they were fraudulent. Maybe they were taken advantage of. There might be all different rights they can assert.
Absolutely. There are all sorts of defenses that you could assert, and that's certainly where we help. So we actually have a dedicated staff attorney in our program who works on all of our consumer debt work. So a volunteer would come in, not only would get training, but would be able to be supervised by that staff attorney with that experience.
And these might be skills a lawyer can use in their own practice, for their own cases where someone can afford to hire them.
Certainly. I think the value add is not just about gaining experience in that area of the law, but it's also about getting that direct one-on-one client interaction. It's about reviewing litigation documents and assessing defense strategies. It's about negotiating settlements. So a lot of that translates into other areas of the law as well.
And you're also collaborating with other lawyers, you're networking, it may help you improve your negotiation or litigation skills in your own practice.
Absolutely. Everything really, truly translates.
And last and not least, you're getting the satisfaction of helping someone who may have very good grounds to stand on and not be further burdened or lose their economic status because of a wrongful suit.
Certainly. And I think a lot of volunteers who have participated in this program have been surprised by what they've learned that some companies have in terms of predatory practices. And so I think that they went in possibly with certain assumptions about what our clients are going through and realize that the system is really stacked against them.
And these are real people too, and they don't have a staff of lawyers to stand up for them.
Certainly. And that we're certainly trying to meet that unmet need. And that's what we really try to do in all of our programs.
I'd like to remind our listeners that we're talking with Anthe Maria Bova. She's the General Counsel and Director of Pro Bono Programs at the New York County Lawyers Association. As you've heard, they have new headquarters at 111 Broadway in Lower Manhattan. They are constantly expanding and looking for volunteers to staff and learn from their various pro bono and pro-consumer programs. Give us your contact information, Anthe, or how someone who's interested, be they a paralegal, a new attorney, an old attorney, someone who wants to do pro bono work, can find out more about training and opportunities to serve.
Sure. So anyone could always email me directly at abova@nycla.org. That's abova@nycla.org. And also our number at NYCLA is 212-267-6646. And we additionally have information on our pro bono programs on our website, which is nycla.org, nycla.org.
And again, it can be an older attorney who's looking for something new, an attorney who wants to network or just change or enhance their pro bono efforts.
Absolutely. We take all volunteers who are interested in assisting low-income New Yorkers with their civil legal needs. What
are some of the other programs that you provide leadership and support for?
Sure. So we, on the flip side of the coin, the limited scope counseling coin, which I was talking about earlier, our most involved program is our Social Security Sdny project, which represents disabled individuals who have applied for Social Security benefits and have been denied those benefits by the Social Security Administration and who are now seeking to appeal in federal court. We created this program back in 2016 when the chief judge at that time actually had made a public request that lawyers step up within the community to provide pro bono services because there were too many people doing this on their own, unrepresented. And you can imagine that's highly problematic going into federal court by yourself. So there are thousands of cases filed every year. So we do our best to take as many as we can. We obviously cannot take on every single case, but we've had a huge expansion in this program. So if anyone is really interested, certainly in cutting their teeth in federal litigation, it's really great for junior attorneys who are admitted in the Southern District to get really hands-on experience when you otherwise would have to wait a long time at a law firm. And judges also often grant oral arguments. So it's a really good litigation experience for attorneys there. The other thing I would note, though, is even if you're interested in this program and perhaps not admitted in the Southern District or perhaps really not ready to walk into federal court, there's an opportunity there to add value. We have a case open right now where we have a two-attorney team where we have one who's the lead on the team, who's counsel of record, who's going to handle all the forward-facing litigation. And then we have a retired attorney who has a lot of experience in this area of the law who says, I'd like to just kind of help with the back end and add a lot of value there. So there's an opportunity there for you to come in and not necessarily be the front face of it if you want to help with disability rights.
And when you say disability rights, this is to get Social Security disability.
Correct.
Which is very important to people.
Absolutely. I mean, you have people who are at or below poverty line, who obviously are relying on these benefits to survive, and they're basically being told by the government that even though they have certain impairments, they're not considered legally disabled, which is offensive on so many levels. And so our value add is coming in, looking at the case, understanding the very intricate area of the law that is Social Security law and the way those appeals work, and helping those clients fight for their rights.
And do you provide training for attorneys who want to volunteer in that area?
Absolutely. So for that project, we have an on-demand training that we have everyone watch up front. And then depending on your level of experience, you'll have either more direct one-on-one mentoring, or perhaps, like I said, perhaps partner with someone who may not be the forward face, but may have more experience, say, reviewing medical documents and things like that. And so we can certainly meet you where you are.
And if they need experts to help support the claim, you'll help them find those experts?
For these types of appeals, you don't need experts because it's an appeal, so it's a closed record.
So it's a matter of culling the record.
It's not a trial.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And are there other programs? I know you have a program to remove criminal convictions and other programs to help people lead a better life and to get a fresh start.
Yes, we have an extremely robust reentry initiative. The overarching theme and mission is to break down barriers for employment, housing, and other civic participation for individuals with criminal records, as you mentioned. So we have a project which we refer to as a certificates project, helping clients determine their eligibility and helping them apply for certificates that can help break down those barriers, either through the court or through the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. We also have another project that helps people appeal their denial of vocational licensing from the Department of State. So think security guard licensing, think real estate appraiser, broker, think barber, esthetician licensing. There are many, many licenses issued by the Department of State where they evaluate whether you have a criminal record, and how we have many clients who are illegally denied the right to work because they have a criminal record. So we have a project that represents those individuals in their administrative appeals. And we also recently expanded to help clients determine their eligibility and help them apply, if eligible, for sealing of criminal records.
And why are those very important things? And why is it important for lawyers to support your efforts in those areas?
So the stigma involved for someone who has a criminal record is extremely high. Thankfully, there's been a lot more press and a lot more attention paid to that. But the unfortunate reality is that even though there have been more and more protections for individuals with criminal records, they still face an extreme uphill battle. And just because someone has a conviction on their record doesn't mean that they shouldn't be able to, say, work to provide for their families. In fact, sometimes that's expected of them. And the irony is that they have trouble getting a job because of their criminal record. There's also been a lot of press about housing, that someone shouldn't be able to get certain types of housing because they have a criminal record. So the work that we do can also help with that.
And this could have been a very limited criminal record from long ago, but it's still acting as a bar to that person participating in society and taking jobs and getting housing.
That's right. So when we're talking about convictions, we're talking about both felonies and misdemeanors. So if an employer does a background check and something comes up, it's very rare that someone says, oh, it was just a misdemeanor, not a felony. I'll go ahead and hire them. Normally, there's just flat out discrimination, and they don't do the relevant analysis that they're required to do under the law to actually say, is this record actually relevant to the employment that I'm actually considering here? So it really is a huge burden on individuals. And as we all know, there was a long period where people were getting convicted of low-level crimes at higher rates. So I think we've seen a shift in the criminal legal system and at the conviction rates, especially lower level. But the discrimination is still happening at a very high rate, regardless of whether someone has felonies or misdemeanors on their record.
And they may have even pled guilty to something, even if they were not guilty, or if they had a good chance of winning at trial because they didn't have the resources, they didn't want to take the risk of doing so.
Certainly, right. So you raised the very important issue of the challenges and the complications of the plea system. And so while we certainly don't do criminal appeals, we represent a lot of individuals who were effectively bullied into a plea when they perhaps had a good chance at going to trial but didn't want to risk it. So certainly representing individuals who very likely may not have actually committed the crime, but at the end of the day, we're helping people manage the existing convictions that they have to break down civil barriers.
And just to clarify, this is not helping someone who's a danger to society. This is someone who wants to participate in the workforce, who wants to participate in society by voting and helping them to get a fresh start.
Right. So I think the huge misconception is someone has a criminal record and somehow they're marked that they're not as worthy or not as interested in giving back to society, when we actually find that so many of our clients are the most eager to give back and provide for their families and earn money and give back via civic participation. And just to clarify, you mentioned voting. So for a long time, we were helping individuals get certificates who were on parole to get the right to vote back. But a new law was passed in New York that automatically gives individuals on parole their right to vote. So that was really huge. I think it's showing a big shift. But we can help individuals with felonies apply for certificates to serve on juries. So currently, if you have a felony record, you cannot serve on a jury unless you have a certificate of relief or a certificate of good conduct, which is what we help individuals apply for.
And the most important thing was what you mentioned earlier, allowing someone to get licenses for certain professions, allow someone to answer no in terms of criminal convictions so that they can get a job and become a meaningful member of society.
Right. It's to be able to give back in more meaningful ways to improve their employment opportunities, to improve and also improve their housing opportunities, and also to participate in civic society. Right. You have people who, why shouldn't they serve on a jury of their peers? Right, especially in criminal cases. If you exclude everyone with a felony conviction, that's not truly a jury of one's peers. So it's really an important way to give back to this particular population that is very eager to fully participate in society.
I would just like to remind our listeners that we're talking with Anthe Maria Bova. She's the General Counsel and Director of Pro Bono Programs, the New York County Lawyers Association, now at their new headquarters at 111 Broadway in Lower Manhattan, near the legal community. And attorneys young and old and paralegals and law students are invited to help out and participate in these various pro bono programs and get valuable legal experience and make invaluable contacts. What are some other ways that lawyers or paralegals can become involved in your programs or programs you're considering in the future, and also take advantage of the resources of the New York County Lawyers Association, even if they don't live in Manhattan County?
In terms of the other things that we offer at NYCLA, we have educational legal programming. Almost all of it remains virtual, so that's not something that you need to come in person for. If you're an attorney and become a member, we provide a variety of sort of member benefits that you could look into that might be beneficial for you. And certainly going back to our pro bono programs, I have a number of volunteers that do not live locally and still participate, particularly we have a lot of volunteers who may have retired and left New York City, and they still are participating in a really vibrant and meaningful way. So I think that if you're interested in getting in volunteering with us, I think that you shouldn't be deterred if you're not local to New York City, even New York State, because there are ways to get you involved no matter what. And I do that as well with legal externs. If you're in law school out of state, we can get you involved. You don't need to be in New York State to get involved with our pro bono programs.
And you will also provide training and support, and sometimes people are working on it as part of a team, so they don't have to worry about getting it over their head.
Certainly. You know, as I mentioned, almost all of our programs have a formalized online training that we provide, and we also match individuals with mentor staff attorneys, sometimes even myself, depending on the case. So I think it really is about tailoring to the volunteer experience. Sometimes we match more experienced retired attorneys with less experienced attorneys and give that the mentoring experience as well. So I think that if you are looking to get involved, there's something that piques your interest, just reach out to me and we can figure out something that works. And
you also encourage law firms to encourage their attorneys and associates to participate in these pro bono programs. Absolutely. I've had a lot of success, especially with smaller firms in particular, who are looking to grow their pro bono programs and saying, we don't know where to start. We don't have an in-house person who can dedicate all of their time on pro bono. Not a problem. I can come in and help you figure that out and provide some really meaningful programs without you cultivating something directly in-house, perhaps like a larger law firm would do. And so we really work the whole broad spectrum of the legal community. We work with large law firms, mid-size. We work with solos as well, and as well as attorneys who work in government as well on a limited scope basis. So don't be deterred if you don't necessarily have the support of a large firm. And just give us your contact information again in case someone would like more information or to get involved. Certainly. My email is abova, ABOVA, at NYCLA.org. My number is 212-267-6646, and you could also visit our website at NYCLA.org. And that's NYCLA.org. And just in a moment, what programs are you hoping to start in the future? For lawyers or for lawyers doing pro bono activities? Well, we are very excited that we're just about to launch a new pilot program in the appellate division. In the first department, prompted by the court to represent individuals who are pro se in their appeals in the appellate division, because there's no formal program right now that does that. So we're in the process of launching that pilot, so more to come. What resources will your new headquarters at 111 Broadway attorneys offer attorneys who are members and, in Lower Manhattan for their legal proceedings? So very importantly, even though we don't have the large old school library that our old headquarters used to have, which is frankly obsolete and no one really uses anymore, we still have a full-fledged suite of legal research services for members who can come in and use, and they're using it in our new building at 111 Broadway. So that's extremely important. There's meeting space that you could reserve as well to meet with committees, to meet with clients as well. So certainly you could use it as your home of law. Even if you're not from Manhattan. Certainly. Okay, I would thank you for joining us again on Law You Should Know. If anyone missed any part of the program or you want to tell someone else about it, please go to nccradio.org and join us next week at this same time on WHPC 90.3 FM for another program on Law You Should Know on the Voice of Nassau Community College.